We all want it, but the majority of us have no clue how to achieve it. It's so much easier with a plan. Financial freedom. So let's start with what that means to me. Well, it means having control over your finances. It means not being a slave to your finances and being able to make decisions throughout your life without being so overly stressed with how it's going to affect your income and being able to pay bills. I'm going to go over 5 steps in order to get you to financial freedom. So number 1 is a simple step, and that's determining where you're at financially right now. You need to determine what you own, what you owe, and you also need to determine what you have saved, what you have invested, and how much you have coming in. Step number 2 is going to be creating a budget. Most people hate doing this. Some people have never done it, but you're going to be surprised at what you spend your money on. You need to create a budget for your mortgage, your utilities, your groceries, your gas, your car payment. You need to determine every avenue that your money goes to. And not only that, but you want to say, this is how much I want to spend on it. And only this much. So you know, when I hit that amount, I need to stop for the week or the month and not spend any more of that money. Do you buy $6 coffees every morning before work? Well, if you do that every weekday, that's $140 every month you're spending on coffee, and you probably don't even realize it. I don't recommend moving on to step number 3 until you've created that budget. So take time to do your budget because it's going to definitely help with step number 3. And step 3 is finding out what your freedom number is. The freedom number to me essentially means how much do I have to make each and every month to pay my bills. And that's my mortgage, that's my car payments if I have car payments, that's groceries, everything. What are the key factors? I typically don't include luxury things. So like going out to the movies, going on vacations. I typically don't include that in my freedom number, where most people will want that money, but if I have the core stuff to pay my bills, to me, that puts me financially free. I don't have to stress over how I'm going to pay my bills. So once you've figured out your freedom number, I'm going to ask you to go back and really determine, is that your real freedom number? Remember I talked about where I don't include a lot of those luxuries into my freedom number. Really determine what's that lowest number that you could achieve. Like if you couldn't work for an entire year, what's the base amount of money that you could live off of? Because to me, that's what your freedom number is. Everything above that is a luxury. Now, step number 4 is going to take all the information from step 1, 2, and 3, and it's going to put it into a goal. You're going to create a goal to hit your freedom number, whether that's 10 years from now, whether that's 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Heck, maybe it's even 5 years from now, or maybe even this year. But you're going to take that information and create a goal to hit that freedom number by a certain date. And then what you can do with that, if you say set that out for 30 years, I would recommend you break that down into more achievable time frames. So maybe say, what's your 15-year goal before you hit your 30-year goal? What's your 10, 5, and even what's this year's goal? Maybe it's just you want to start to get $200 or $300 every month to go towards your freedom number. Now, the 5th and final step is going to be the one that's going to take you the longest because it's the process on how to achieve your financial freedom number. And you can do this from investing or saving, and it all depends on what you're comfortable with and what time frame you're working with. Saving is more than likely going to take the longest amount of time. I think a very common figure is to save 25 times your, what I'm going to call freedom number for the year. So let's say your freedom number is $40,000. All of your base expenses for the year are $40,000. Well, in order to create a freedom number, it's 25 times that $40,000, or
$1 million.
Now, right now, that may seem like a crazy amount of money, but in order to achieve that, that's what you need to comfortably get there. Once you reach that number, I recommend you keep it invested if you have it invested. If you have it saved, maybe you have it in an account where it's creating some interest. But if you do have it invested, that investment only needs to return 4% each and every year in order for you to take that out and pay your $40,000 freedom number. Only 4%, that's pretty reasonable, and there are a lot of investments out there that return that amount of money. So how long would it take you to get to that $1 million? Well, if we're going to use the same, let's use the same 4% return that we just talked about. And if you started from $0 at the age of 18 and saved $1,000 every month, that's every month of every year, that would take you, I believe, 37 years to get to that $1 million. So if you started at 18, at 55, you would have enough saved to be 25 times your freedom number. But let's say you're a little more savvy than returning 4% and you can get 7% average. If you were able to do that, you could retire by the age of 47 rather than 55, which is miles ahead of the vast majority of the public. So a lot of you might be thinking that this is a very long time. So let's talk about another alternative where you don't need to save up to $1 million before you really hit this financial freedom number. Well, it's going to be about creating passive income each and every month or year that you're collecting in order to pay for your freedom number. Now, there are many different ways to create passive income, but I'm going to use real estate in this example because 90% of all millionaires have done so through owning real estate. Plus, it's just my favorite. So we're going to start with an 18-year-old. And I'm going to assume that 18-year-old wants a place to live and they're not going to live at home for years to save up money. But what they're going to do is they're going to buy a duplex or a triplex. They're going to move into one of the sides and then they're going to rent out the other sides. And that rent is going to pay for the mortgage. So instead of paying for a mortgage each and every month, the money that they would use because they're house hacking, they're going to take that money, they're going to save it. And once they have enough money, and I'm going to approximate that after a year, they're going to have that money, then they're going to buy another investment property. And it could be a duplex, it could be a single family home, but they're going to do this only one property each and every year. So after doing that for each and every year, someone could easily achieve their $40,000 financial freedom number in 17 years, maybe even less than that. That means if they started at 18 years old, at 35, they could be financially free. And on top of that, you have principal pay down because you got mortgages on these properties. You're actually paying off your mortgages each and every year. And that could total up to half of
$1 million.
And that's not chump change. Now, this method is going to turn some away because maybe they don't want to source their properties. They don't want to find them. They don't want to manage them. They don't even want to manage the third-party management that could be running these properties. So let's talk about an alternative to this. The caveat to this example is that it's going to require some money in advance. And what you're going to do with this money is you're going to invest it to create passive income. So maybe you have a large amount of money saved up, or maybe you have a large IRA or a 401k. Maybe you even have just a large sum of money coming in each and every month that you could cut back on your expenses and use that money to invest. So for this example, I'm going to assume that you're established and you have $250,000 saved up. That's a lot of money, but there's a lot of people that have that amount in their retirement account saved up, and they have no clue what to do with it, but they don't know how to grow it to a point where it's creating financial freedom for them. Now you could take this money and invest it in rental property, or you can invest it passively in rental property. And I'm sticking with the real estate. Remember, there's multiple different ways to create passive income. Most of the time that I talk to people that are older that have a large sum of money, they don't want to take the time, or they just don't have the time to learn to invest on their own. So you have this large sum of money, and how do you get it to give you passive income to pay for your freedom number, to get you to that freedom number every year? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to invest it in a couple of real estate deals. Maybe it's 2 or 3. I don't recommend putting it all in one. You don't want all your eggs in one basket, but you're going to put it in and you're going to get a 7% return on your investment, similar to our previous example. And then when you get proceeds from that, you're going to want to reinvest that in other real estate deals. And by doing this, you can achieve your freedom number of your passive income by 17 years. If you're 40, that means at 57, you could have that freedom number achieved. If you're 30 years old, that means when you're 47, you can have that financial freedom number achieved. The key here is to take the money that you make and reinvest it in real estate to create a compound interest effect, which stocks have a benefit of, because typically in real estate deals, the profits that you make get paid out and they're not reinvested. So reinvesting those amounts continue to escalate that return. Now, in my example, 7% is super conservative when it comes to these deals. Typically, that's a base amount. As a passive investor, a lot of them can return in the mid-teens. And if you get in that area, you can hit your freedom number from investing $250,000. You can hit that number in 7 to 8 years. And if you started when you were 40, that means at 47 to 48, you are financially free. And remember, in my first example, you had to put in $1,000 each and every month to get there. In this sample, you're not putting in any money. You're just starting with that $250,000. You could achieve that even faster if you were putting more money in each and every month or each and every year. So we all want financial freedom. Are you willing to do what it takes? If you like this video, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.